also, really anybody who does a little research should have some issue with our educational process. Yeah. The educational system is geared not to create the most intelligent workforce, the most intelligent population. Our educational system is geared to create the lowest common denominator. So they are not trying to make you super educated. They're just giving you the basics. So when you choose not to go to college, what you are doing is you are even accepting less than what the system is even allowing. So you're actually giving yourself, kind of like you were saying, you're kind of making it even harder for yourself because you're not even taking in what is offered. College actually offers you opportunity to get a little bit more from the educational process, because going through high school, they aren't necessarily trying to make you smart, intelligent, and successful. They just want worker bees. They want people working at McDonald's. They want people cleaning the streets. That's all they're doing. I mean, if that wasn't the case, our government would not be allowing the number of people to graduate high school not knowing how to read. That is happening every day. That is happening every year at every high school across the country. They are graduating people who don't even know how to read. So if you go to school 12 years and don't know how to read, the system is obviously failing. Or the system is obviously skewed against you. And so it seems like it's more skewed against you, so you should be trying to get as much as you can.
And one thing I also wanted to say, like on an individual basis, that a lot of people have that serve as a misconception is that college is new to their family specifically. Somebody mentioned before about how important education once was in the black community. And the reality is that, like, I hear people all the time, I'm the first person in my family that's gone to college, but you don't know anybody in your family past your grandparents. So you got great-great-grandparents that may have gone to college. You got, uncles and stuff. Like, in my family, like, I found out about an uncle I had and a grandfather and this person and that person that went to college and did all this great stuff. And what it did, it inspired me because it helped me to, like, really recognize my place and understand the responsibility that I have. But I think that on an individual basis, like I said, a lot of people may feel like, well, nobody in my family has done it before. It wasn't important to us as a family. So I think I'm not letting anybody down by not going to college, or I'm not doing anything unusual by not seeking higher education, because we've made it this far and we've been okay so far. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that if you search further back, if you search far back enough in your family history, you'll see that education has been important to your family because it's been an essential tool. And it's not a brand new thing. It's not like, so it was the 21st century, now everybody need to get educated. No, it's been that way, since the beginning. Education has been very important.
And, just to piggyback on what all the other brothers have said, like I tell my students all the time, I say either A, you can be a person who digs a hole looking for oil, or you can be the person that sits behind the desk and tells the person when to grab the shovel and what hole to go dig where at. And it makes perfect sense. The person, if you just want to be an employee all your life, then fine. Just graduate from high school, shoot the breed, go out, put in a job application. That's all well and good. But that's where you will be 15 years from now. You're not going to want to still be out here digging the same holes looking for oil when you see a partner or somebody else who's just studying the maps and they're getting paid the big bucks to do it. And that's the difference. And my last thing I want to say is, going to college and not going to college is like wearing shirts. If you don't go to college, yes, you will be furnished with a t-shirt. You can make it. But when you go to college, it's like being able to have a collared shirt. And I think sometimes the misconception is, whichever college I go to makes my collared shirt better. Well, because I went to Harvard, now I have on a Dolce & Gabbana collared shirt. Or because I went to Emory, I have on a Ralph Lauren collared shirt. Or because I went to Atlanta Metro, I have a Massimo collared shirt from Target. Well, at the end of the day, if the person who's looking for you in the interview is just looking for a collared shirt, it doesn't matter because the clothes don't make the man makes the clothes. So at the end of the day, Brother Bush can have on a regular t-shirt and be a better worker than I am, but because I have that paper or because I have on that collared shirt, I'm going to be looked at a little bit more than his. It's not to say that just because you go to college, and I think, and that's the last misconception I want to bring up. Sometimes I think people think that just because they go to college, that they're better than the other people who didn't. And on the same end, sometimes people feel like because they didn't go to college means that they're less of a person than the person who did go to college. If you don't believe me, go check out the book, Our Kind of People. You can find it in Barnes and Nobles. You really have to understand that a college degree does not make you a better person. It may make you a person who is more equipped to handle the dilemmas of the world, but it doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you a little bit more eligible to get a job.
You know, that's something that I actually had to fight through. I had a chip on my shoulder from 19 to about 23, 24. I had a huge chip on my shoulder. It started getting smaller when it was.
I was about to say, what happened at 24?
It just started to get smaller. I started to grow into myself even more. But despite regardless of what I did, what I accomplished, I always felt less than when I was around people who had degrees and things of this nature. I've always had ideas like to bring some guys together to have these types of conversations and whatnot. This was an idea that I had from last year, and I had it from last year. And two things that didn't make it happen as soon as I think it could happen or should have happened. One, I didn't put in the work necessary to make it happen as quickly as I wanted it to happen. And two, I was apprehensive about it because I didn't think I was deserving of putting together an idea like that. Even if it's a small and simple, we're not on UPN or anything. But it's something small and simple. But just to bring some very intelligent guys together, I didn't think I was worthy of doing that. So I still had to grow. I still had to grow into that. It was what we call insecurity. It was something I was insecure about. So I had to chip on my shoulder. And when I got into conversations with people, I had to show my intellect. I had to show my intellect. Because after the show, I'm just as smart as you, and I'm not less than you because you went to college and I didn't. It was something I just had to do. And but doing something, it made me feel good when I was doing it. But when they found out that I didn't go to college, the look that I got still made me feel even worse. So it took a while. It did. Now I'm at a place that I don't have to say anything. You don't have to know I've been to college. You don't have to know I didn't go. I'm very, very comfortable with myself because I know what I'm capable of. I'm more aware and more in tune with the power that I have and the potential I have. Not just the potential, but the fact that I'm fulfilling in the process of fulfilling that potential. But these are things. It's not just going to college or not going to college. These are things that you have to face in yourself if you don't go to college. And I tell you, when you work in a program in a room with 12 people, and you're the only person who don't have a college education, that doesn't have a college education, who doesn't have a degree, you're the only one in there. I'm telling you, you can feel like crap sometimes. You can feel like straight crap. You don't want to say anything. You don't want to open your mouth. I'm telling you, it can be very debilitating, which is why I do not suggest to any student that I teach or talk to that they not go to college, because it's to get past the point that you didn't go is very challenging. It's very, very challenging. And I'm fortunate enough to be responsible and strong-minded enough to not lash out, not take my insecurities out of other people. But not everybody can do that. A lot of people who, and this happens. A lot of guys who don't go to college, they get around people who have, their insecurities come out. In the ways of they want to attack you, they have smart comments and all this stuff. And you've seen it.
And that crosses a lot of lines. I mean, some of that's just natural behavior, college or not. Some of it, those kind of insecurities just happen. I mean, like, it just depends on the situation. Like, for instance, I have a graduate degree, but if I'm in a room full of PhDs, I'm feeling a little intimidated. I'm feeling a little bit, I'm sure they have a little bit more academic knowledge than I do, and maybe what we're talking about, maybe I just have no clue what they're talking about. I got know what they got in between there when they took those steps. You missing that.
Wow.
So, you know, you can't help but feel intimidated. And it goes across other lines too, not just employment, but just socialization. You know, just being out, like you said, either it's a work environment or you can be at the bar. It even matters, especially with us black men, when it comes to black women, because we know that a lot of black women now are taking those steps.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, that causes even more friction between us sometimes. You know, because a lot of our men are feeling that, because these women, you know, they're up here educationally, and you start feeling that way. Then you have the sex thing, the gender thing, where that amplifies that frustration or that anxiety.
Yeah. You know, I want to say a couple of things. You threw out a book that people should read. What was the name of that book?
Our Kind of People.
Our Kind of People. I think another book that people should read, Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson, and also The Education of the Negro, which he wrote before that.
Yeah.
Also Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, if you get a chance to read those. Those are the 3 books that you should add to your library to educate yourself. But what I do want to say is that I remember when I graduated from graduate school, I was this revolutionary. I mean, I'm toned down now. Trust me. Those that knew me right when I graduated, man, you know, was leading marches and rallies and all that kind of stuff. And I would say I was that way despite my education, because education I had to go to school to know that school was a hustle. I mean, and so I agree with you in what you're saying, Brother Bush, Alex. I think you're bringing in a lot of information on the other side of, if you don't go to school, there's some things that you may have to deal with. But I also want to echo what Brother Willis was saying, is that just because you do go to school, don't feel that, you know, you're better than other people too, because I think a lot of people go to school for the wrong reason. I was clear when I went to school what I was going to school for. And I was going to school not because I thought that I was going to, what I was learning in the classroom was going to get me a job. I enjoyed education for education's sake. So I just enjoyed the process of learning. And so I knew that, you know, it was going to make me a better person. And I knew that those connections that I was making in school, you know, the guy who lived down the hall whose dad was VP of Merrill Lynch, or the person, you know, over here that had those kind of connections, I knew that that was more important than what I was learning in the classroom. Why? Because I was clear on it when I was in high school. You know, and I was clear on, you know, looking around and seeing that, you know, these teachers, you know, I had teachers that cared and teachers that didn't care. And, you know, I can get an A on the test from a teacher that cared just as easy as a teacher that didn't care. And I may not have learned anything in that class, but it was all about building up my, you know, resume, for lack of a better term. And so that's the same thing with education is, you know, I can put that notch on my belt that I went to this, and I can either use it or not use it, but it's there. You know, and so that's what it's all about. So
It's a tool.
yeah, and so while I was in school, you know, I started organizations. I started organizations in undergrad, started organizations in graduate school, and I do that now. It's an opportunity for you to be a leader. It's an opportunity for you to learn about yourself. It's an opportunity for you to grow up in a safe environment. Because, you know, you can make mistakes in school and you're insulated. You know, you have the opportunity to say, well, let me start this organization. Let me try and start this business. And I have all these thousands of customers right here, right at school. And I can learn lessons now. But if you don't use it for that,